How did Roman law define legal obligations? Imagine a system where every promise, act, or wrong creates a binding duty between people. That's what Roman law was all about when it came to legal obligations. Think of obligations as the invisible threads connecting individuals in a web of duties and rights. These bonds made sure everyone knew what they had to do and what they could expect in return. In ancient Rome, a legal obligation was more than just a promise. It was a formal relationship backed by law. It involved at least two parties: the person owed a duty, called the debtor, and the person entitled to demand performance, called the creditor. This relationship was called a vinculum juris, or legal bond, which meant the law required the debtor to fulfill a specific duty. That duty could be to do something, like deliver goods, or to refrain from doing something, like not damaging property. Roman law classified these obligations based on where they came from. The first type was obligations from contracts, which arose from voluntary agreements. These contracts could be written, spoken, or simply based on mutual consent. For example, if two people agreed that one would lend money to the other, that created a binding duty to repay. The second type was obligations from delicts, which came from wrongful acts like theft or causing damage. If someone stole from another, they had a legal duty to compensate the victim. The third category was quasi-contracts, which were obligations imposed by law even without an agreement. Say someone accidentally received money they didn't deserve, the law required them to return it. The last type was quasi-delicts, which involved negligence or carelessness. If someone caused harm through neglect, they had to pay for the damages. The core idea was that these obligations created a legal bond, making the debtor legally bound to perform and the creditor entitled to enforce that duty. These bonds weren't about owning things but about personal duties between individuals. Roman law also distinguished between obligations in personam and in rem. In personam, obligations were personal and only enforceable against the specific individual. In rem, obligations related to property, meaning they could be enforced against anyone with respect to certain rights. The roles of the parties were clear. The debtor had to perform fully and on time, while the creditor had to specify what was owed and act in good faith. If the debtor fulfilled their duty, the obligation was discharged through solutio, or performance. This system made sure that duties and rights were respected and enforced fairly. So, in essence, Roman law saw legal obligations as the legal ties that linked people through duties created by contracts, wrongful acts, or law itself. These bonds formed the foundation of Roman private law and influenced many legal systems that came after.